back, everybody. I'm Scott with Off Grid Stoves and More. And today we're going to discuss about a situation that has occurred with a customer in regards to the stove catching on fire. First off, I need to explain it has nothing to do with the stove itself. Okay, it's a maintenance issue that leads to Austroflamms catching on fire. Any pellet stove. I've had fires in just about every pellet stove that, not I personally, but every pellet stove that we sell, people have had fires in. Austroflamm is not known for having fires. Basically, fires comes from too much creosote inside of a stove, which normally ignites and then normally will overheat the stove, and then other issues can occur when that happens. Now, this isn't something to be all freaked out about. Don't start thinking that you need to get rid of your Austroflamm because you're hearing that one caught on fire. Okay, this is a worst case scenario. This is called third degree creosote, when you have glazed creosote on your doors and on your glass. Let's take a look here. This stove is actually caught on fire. See the third degree in there? This is going to take a lot of work to get this stove cleaned out. Somebody had a scary moment to where this did catch on fire, and it got very, very hot right there above the combustion outlet. See that? So if you start seeing third degree, this is what the worst case scenario is right here, is it'll end up catching on fire. And, you know, you can only imagine how it can get out of control from that point there. If you do get third degree creosote, email us. We have a product that you can actually spray in the stove, and it's heat activated, and it'll actually take that third degree tar and it'll powderize it so it can be removed. Another situation with third degree creosote is your stove should have movable tube scrapers, okay, like so. Third degree creosote, nothing. These bars are welded to the tubes. It's going to take a lot of work to get that third degree cleaned out of there and get these tube scrapers working again. Third degree creosote, we might as well just jump right into it and talk about that. Third degree creosote is the glazed form of creosote that forms on the inside of a stove or chimney pipe. And what it comes from is normally burning wet or damp pellets. Okay, that extra moisture inside the pellet, when it is consumed, actually liquefies the creosote on the inside of the stove and chimney pipe, and then it bakes it on in that glazed form. Very highly flammable, and when it does catch on fire, it can burn up to 2,000 plus degrees, and then that's when your stove will normally have other issues, like it could potentially catch wiring on fire. It will overheat and possibly affect electronics, snap discs, and so forth. And then, next thing you know, you're replacing other parts because of it. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that the pellets are wet or damp. It could also be that it's a poor quality pellet. A pellet that has a lot of byproducts in it, that right off the bat has more moisture. Even though the bags are saying that it has a certain moisture content in it, ever since 2020 when all the craziness happened, pellet quality control has really gone downhill, and individuals are just releasing product out there that are creating more problems in stoves than good. So it's really one of those situations that if by chance you're finding that your pellets are creating the third degree creosote, and it normally always increases the third degree creosote when you smolder, when you turn your stove way down on low. If it's a Rican, you run, say, down on 15 or 20 or whatever, or, turning the potentiometer down on the Integra 1 below half to where, it's staying alive, but it's just not really pumping a lot of heat through, and it's not producing a high enough BTU in your stove in order to burn clean. So Those are the two reasons that you'll normally end up with third degree. Now, it's always recommended that you clean your system complete annually. Clean your stove out. You can watch our video, cleaning and troubleshooting. We go rather in depth on, you know, showing getting into the stove and making sure that you clean it properly, so you're not going to have any problems by plugging it up, by missing something after you know, push creosote around in the stove. Another thing is the hopper blanket. If you have an older Integra that is missing the hopper blanket that goes between the firebox and the hopper itself, you're going to want to make sure that you call and you order a new blanket in order to replace that, because that is a big safety feature of the stove. Your firebox back panels, the bolts that hold them on inside of the firebox, on the back side you have what's called cage nuts, and those cage nuts must be sealed completely, due to the fact that if you are missing that silicone, a lot of heat can pump through those cage nuts and get back into the back portion of the stove, and it can start excuse me, overheating and creating problems back there. So you're going to want to make sure that the cage nut gasket sealant is intact. And a lot of the times, if there's any problems with the sealant, it'll affect the air sensor and it'll bring to your attention that you have a problem. But I can tell you that I have seen a situation before to where the stove did not shut down or have problems, and it did pump a lot of heat back there, and it created some issues. Wiring harnesses, old brittle wiring harnesses, okay? You have the obvious age to your stove, since these stoves were made back in the 90s, and these wiring harnesses become very brittle, and the wire casing can crack, and it can actually expose raw wire to where it can arc out. If it arcs and you know, if the situation works just perfectly, it can create a fire or a fire hazard in the back from the wiring harness. And if you take the wires and you wiggle them back and forth and the casing is cracking, get a hold of us. Wiring harnesses are hard to come by, so we're actually having to make them ourselves due to the fact that it's one of those parts that there's not a lot of them sold. So let me just recap. The number one problem for fires in the stove is maintenance issues. If you clean your chimney and you clean your system annually, then you will find that you're not going to have a lot of problems that people are having due to stoves plugging up and low limit snap disc being covered with creosote and malfunctioning because it's not monitoring the temperature properly, or whatever. If you have any other questions or concerns about your stove, please feel free to get a hold of us at offgridstoves@gmail.com, or you can leave a message on our answering machine at 800-348-1021, and we will get back to you as soon as we possibly can for any need, any question, any part. We're here for you. You guys stay safe out there. Peace.